Friends, welcome to Think Different Tanya. This is our awesome Tanya class where we go through Tanya, the classic mystical work, the Bible of Chabad Hasidic philosophy, the Tanya. So, a few notes of intro. Number one, numero uno, is that we are studying, we are studying chapter 50 of Tanya. That's the first point. First point is, what chapter are we doing? It's chapter 50. You should know there's only 53 chapters in the book, which means that we're getting close, my friends. We are getting close. Not that we're racing to the finish, but we're building up to the big crescendo, as it were, to the big finish of Tanya and the big ideas. We're getting to some major ideas. We started last week with a powerful idea. I want to reset it, and then we're going to develop it further. If you got the email, where's Mark? I don't see Mark. I see a doorway. Mark, are you there? Hey, perfect timing, Mark. Mark, are you not getting my emails? Why are you not on the email list? But you're muted. That's the other thing. I can't even hear you. You know what? We can play charades. I don't mind that. We can give that a whirl. Go.
Well, you can hear me now, yeah. So
you didn't get the email?
I didn't see it.
What's up with that? Maybe you're not on the email list, which then begs the question, why do I not have you on the email list? Anyway, I don't have an answer to that.
It got lost in the email.
You know something?
It got lost in the email.
Ari, yes. Freud always said, Freud used to say, no one ever says anything by accident, and no one ever forgets anything by accident.
Look at that. Mark, you're on to me. You're on to me. Yes.
You didn't know like what's like circle to choose.
Right. Reva says maybe I didn't know which circle to choose. You got that. Yes. Yes. I chose the wrong circle. So here's the deal. Friends, last week we spoke about love, and we spoke about two forms of love. Remember this? I'm going to jog some memories, right? Let's jog some. That's my sitting, jogging motion as we jog. That's not bad, actually. It looks pretty good on the screen. I'm just saying. So let's jog some memory. Listen. So last week we spoke about love. That's like silver. And then love. That's like gold. All right, I'm going to stop. So love like silver and love like gold. And we said that silver love. We did a bunch of different parallels. There's silver love and there's gold love. And then there's water love. And there is fire love. And we had other stuff. But let's quickly recap what these two types of loves are. So one type of love is a love of desiring a connection, right? It's, I love myself. I love you. Let's connect, right? Let's get close. Let's get close, right? I want you to be close to me. I want to be close to you. Let's get close. Let's hang out together, right? As Adina Malka said earlier, let's go see a movie. I got the popcorn, right? That's what's going on, right? Let's hang out. That's one type of love, which is profound. And if we could have that for God, it's amazing. By the way, that type of love for God means that we want to spend time with God. We want to do a mitzvah. We want to study Torah. We want to daven. We want to pray. We want to have opportunities to connect and hang out with God and bring God into the world and make the world closer to Hashem, to God. All that stuff is part of the first type of love, which we call silver love. Hey, Eli Sollish. By the way, I don't mind hanging out with you either. Bring it in. Yes. Sure, why not? So, the silver love is love of desiring closeness. Nichsafti. Desiring closeness. Kesef. Nichsef. It's a desire. It's a yearning. It's wanting to be connected, wanting to be close. It's desiring closeness. Beautiful. It's likened to water. What does water do? Water collects. Water goes down. Water pools together and gathers. By the way, you take separate items. I think I mentioned this last week. If not, I'll mention it now. You take separate items, you mix water in there, and they coalesce together. You know what we call that? Dough, right? You take flour, It's almost Passover. You got to bake that matzah at some point, right? Yeah, someone's got to do it, right? So you take flour, which if you look at flour under the microscope, I'm holding a magnifying glass talking about a microscope. So that's the mixed metaphor here, right? You're looking at flour, and what do you see? Different pieces, lots of different pieces. You mix water, and suddenly, instead of having like 10,000 different pieces, you don't have one dough. Water brings together. Water love is about getting together. Water love is about connecting, about merging, about fusing, right? Let's get close. That's water love. That's silver love. Once a comedian that said, rice is good when you want like 1,000 of something. Yeah, you with me? Yes, that's a joke, right? Usually one of something, right? Like one, I don't know, hot dog, one piece of sushi. Oh, I guess more than one, but whatever. Yeah, but rice is like, give me 500 pieces. I can take it on. No problem. Put it right in the bowl. 500 pieces? Yeah, it's fine. It'll be just like that much. Back inside. Or no, back to our Tanya conversation. This is Tanya, Think Different, Stand Up, Thursday nights. And Cooking with Rabbi Ari. We always got to do the food references. That's the name of the Zoom meeting. So that's silver love. Gold love is level 2 love. That's the main focus of chapter 50, which is what we're doing. What is gold love? So number one, first thing you need to know is that gold love is higher than silver love, because obviously in the rankings of metal, the rankings are copper from bottom up, copper, silver, gold, and then Bitcoin. So clearly there's a hierarchy. It was a joke. Clearly there's a hierarchy where gold is higher than silver. So what does it mean for love? Aha, glad you asked. Regarding love, we said last week, we're going to develop this today as well, is that there is a type of love that's not at all about self. It's not at all about wanting to get closer to the other or the other get closer to you. It's about losing self in the other. It's really about undoing self, unraveling, I think is the word I used last week, which I really love. I think the word unravel is not used enough, frankly. But it's only used by sweater knitters. You knit sweaters? Sweater knitters. Doesn't sound right. I don't know why. Sweater knitters who somehow something got pulled. It's unraveling. All right, back to our story. The second type of love is about unraveling self and undoing one's own mitziut, one's own existence, to completely dissolve back into the pure, divine origin source state. This is not about, me and God hanging out. There's no more me anymore. This is a much loftier level of love, which is very untraditional, because most love is about something for me, right? I love you, but there's something for me in this as well, and that's the closeness of me and you. This love, I'm not in it for me. In fact, the end game is there's no longer any me. There's no more me, right? It's not at all about me. It's about letting go of self, and it's like that, like inaudible hand gesticulations. It's dissolving. All right. This is called gold love. This is called fire love. Let's talk about fire. Fire, I explained last week. We've explained before many different classes. Fire's nature, the nature of fire is to undo its own existence. That's all fire wants to do, is get out of here and be gone. All fire wants to do is undo itself, which is radically different than the nature of every other thing other than the soul, which is what we're talking about tonight, about the soul's love on the higher level, which is to undo itself. Every being wants to be. Every being wants to support its own existence, not to undo its own existence. It doesn't make any sense, right? The nature, the natural biology of every living creature, every living existence, every existence is to bolster, to strengthen one's own existence. That's the nature of everything. Everything wants to be. And fire doesn't want to be. In fact, it so doesn't want to be, it doesn't want anything else to be either. So you put fire to a piece of paper, well, that's gone, and then the fire's gone. If the paper's connected with something else, well, all of those things are gone, and then the fire's gone. The fire is an undoer. The soul has a nature. It's not its only nature, but it has an element of the godly soul has an element soul of its nature. I didn't say that right. An element, one aspect of the godly soul's nature is that it does not want to be outside source. It wants to be inside the source, so inside that it no longer exists. The example that's given in Kabbalah, that's not given in our text, and I didn't express it last week, but it's an example that you might be familiar with based on previous classes, a Kabbalah and coffee class that we did a while ago, maybe a few years ago. So this may ring familiar, is think about the sun and the ray of the sun, right? You may recognize this example. So the sun is the source of light, and then there are rays, of course, or the sun is an orb of brightness whose rays emanate and extend. So during the day, you go outside and it's light, and the light right in front of you, right? Literally, you stick out your hand and it's glowing. You're like, wow, what a cool hand. Oh, no, wait, the sun's rays are shining on my hand, right? That ray is coming from a source, but as it emanates from the source, which is the sun, right, it becomes its own thing, right? You wouldn't say, oh, the sun is on my hand. You would say the sunlight is on my hand. Are you with me on that, the distinction? So the sun is an orb in the sky. The sunlight is what extends from that place, and I see it now. I stick out my hand, and I see it hitting my hand. Not the sun. That would be very hot to hold. I don't have the sun in my hand. I have the sunlight on my hand. So imagine if the sunlight decided, I don't want to exist anymore, or this one piece of sunlight said, I no longer want to exist outside the source. I want to crawl back up that, I don't know, ray. I want to go back inside the sun. Inside the sun, I will not be a ray of light. I will once again become sun. But that's what I want. That's exactly the nature, this aspect of the nature of the soul. It no longer wants to be separate. It no longer wants to be outside. It no longer wants to be its own being. It doesn't even want to be a thing that's close to God. It doesn't want to be a thing, right? It's not like I want to be close to God. It's I don't want to be. I want to go back to the source where I will not be. I will just be back to source. It's like the parable that I've told you before about the waves, the two waves. You know this one about the ocean and the two waves? So there are these waves that are coming in, right, from the ocean and, heading toward the shore. And there's a big wave and a little wave. There's the elder wave. Huh? One second. Shalom, you can't whisper a joke. Oh, seriously. I'm going to share it. What did one wave say to the other? Nothing. They just waved. So, yeah, that's from Shalom. Cue it up. Shalom, everyone likes it. You're hired for the next stand-up. Come, at least take a bow. No? Ellie, you want to take his bow? Why not? We'll pretend that you're the same. Okay. No one will ever know the difference. Sure, I'll open a seltzer for you. Enjoy. Bracha. Now, getting back. So back to my story, not the joke. That reminds me of my joke. You can listen. What did one Jew say to the other that he hadn't seen for a while by Kriyas Yamsuf, by the splitting of the sea? Oh, long time no see. Because it was also, for a while, there was no sea there. Getting back to our story, so there's these two waves, yeah, that just happened, that are coming in from the ocean to the shore. The big wave and the little wave, the elder wave and the youngin wave. And the young wave is enjoying it at first, but then realizes what's happening to all the waves ahead of it. All the waves are crashing and exploding. And the wave begins, the little wave begins to get frightened and says to the elder wave, he says, look what's happening. We're headed to the shore. There are rocks over there. We're about to be destroyed. We're going to die. And the elder wave looks at the little one and says, Bubala, no need to worry. No need to worry. Why not? He says, because you're not a wave. You're water. You're not a wave. You're water.
Waves are still water.
Waves are still water. Bingo, says Riva. Waves are still water. Exactly. What that means is that the wave could be a wave, or it can identify as its own being, its own existence, its own reality as a wave, as distinct from the ocean or the water, or it merges back into its source. And sometimes, all right. Sometimes, right? Sometimes it takes a dramatic moment, to realize that one is part of something greater. Getting back to our story, there are two forms of love. One form of love is me not wanting to not be. I still want to be. And as I am being, I want to connect with God. The higher level of love is not wanting to be. And why do we call that love? If it's not traditional type of love, why do we call that love? It's not love the way we typically understand love. It's love as in a desire to fully merge. It's not two connecting, but it's one dissolving. So since it's about a closeness, it's the ultimate closeness. So it is also referred to with the term love, but it's a different type of love. It's fire love and it's cold love. 1 second. What?
It's cold love.
Hold on. I can't hear you. Go. What? I don't know. All right. That was not. Did you say love? The word love? What did one love say to the other love? Nothing. They just loved. That's not. No. Wait, you can't do that again. You had the wave. I'm sorry. It's not going to work. All right.
Nope.
Oh, you noped him.
Nope.
Wow. All right. So that's,
You had me at wave.
Yeah. And we lost you at love. That's basically what just happened there with that joke. Those are the two levels of love we spoke about last week. Today, we're going to take this further and talk about Ezekiel's chariot. Now, this is really important. The Talmud says that one is not supposed to study the chariot, the Maisa Merkava, the story of the chariot of Yecheskel, of Ezekiel. Now, why not? Why not? Because it speaks of God and spiritual realms in very concrete terms, which could lend itself to a lot of misunderstanding and even heresy. In other words, where a person walks away with a completely wrong, misguided picture of God. One thing we know about God is that God does not have an image, right? God is not of a bodily form. God does not have the traits that we have, even the idea of emotions or feelings that the Torah or the sages attribute to God are only meant to be understood very metaphorically and not literally. So we have to be very careful, which is why, again, the Talmud says, be careful studying the book of Yecheskel, the book of Ezekiel, or the opening chapter, the story about the Merkava, because it can give a misguided picture. It can give a wrong picture. So let's do it. I'm gonna mention a verse, and I hope you don't get misguided. Right, that's the goal. There's a verse in Ezekiel. I'm gonna pull it up. I think I have it. I don't know that I'm gonna pull it up on the screen, but I should have it by me. Talks about the chayos, the chayot. Let me see if I can share this. Give me a second here. Let me see if I can share this. I don't see why I couldn't share this. Share all the time.
So are you saying the Talmud says we're not supposed to study what we're studying tonight?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Not exactly. It says not to study it cold, right? We're not studying it cold. We're studying it in a guided way, which is why we're pushing the envelope of this. Fran, it's good. Fran and Drar, welcome. Oh my gosh, it's so great to have you guys. Welcome. Okay. So I just shared my screen with you, and take a look at the text, or at the verse that I have highlighted here, verse 14. And let me see, I gotta minimize my little pictures over here. So the Hebrew says, "V'hachayos ratzo v'shov kemare habazak." It says, and the living beings would run and return like the appearance of the sparks. Who are the living beings? That sounds very anonymous. Chayos. They're angels that are called chayos or chayot. There are different types of angels. We say it in the prayers every single morning, every single day, including Shabbat. We talk about the Ophanim. We talk about the Srafim. We talk about the Chayot HaKodesh, the Holy Chayot. There are different types of angels, different levels, different dimensions, different personalities, different experiences, different type of angels. And the different angels are depicted in different ways in this story. So, for example, the opening, this is Ezekiel, right? Ezekiel chapter 1. This is it. It talks about a vision, right? He said, I saw visions of God. He talked about visions, a tempest, a fire, brightness, chashmal coming out from it, 4 living beings, likeness of a man, wings, legs, feet, copper, hands, wings, etc. He talks about angels and beings.
Much.
It's a lot of stuff, right?
It's too much.
It's too much. It's a lot of stuff. It talks about how the chariot has the face of a man, the face of a lion, the face of an ox, the face of an eagle. You can read this and think that God is sitting on a chariot that has all these accoutrements on it and get a completely misguided picture of God. And that is why we have to be very careful when we study this. But I just want to point out one thing, and that is that it says here in verse 14, and the chayot, the living beings, would run and return like the appearance of the sparks. It talks about the chayot angels that are running and returning. You know what running and returning means? Just give you like a very quick depiction of what that means. Running and returning means that you have a starting point, right? And you have these angels that are somehow fleeing and then bouncing back, right? It's like like moving
I
forth.
feel like there's someone, because your hand is going down.
Right, because I'm acting it out with my hand. Right, it's like going out and coming back in. It's going out and coming back in. It's kind of like the heart, which expands and contracts, right? It expands and contracts and expands and contracts. These angels are running and returning. In the Hebrew, it's ratzo v'shov. They're running and coming back and returning. This is a key element of the second type of love. If you recall the way we described the second type of love earlier, the second type of love is, not even earlier, just a few moments ago, is loving God so much that one literally wants to lose oneself in the source. One does not want to exist outside the source. That is what we call ratzo. That is when a human being is so enthralled, is so, enthralled is not the right word, is so just, I don't know what the right word is. It's so just taken and smitten and overwhelmed that all they want to do is become part of source. That's called ratzo. That's called the running. 1 second. That's called the running and the escaping self, right? The angels are escaping and returning. They're running and returning. Running is like escape. It's like escaping. The soul, this level of love, wants to escape the body, escape materialism, escape self-identity, even spiritual self-identity. The soul wants to go. The soul wants to leave. The soul wants to undo itself, to unravel. And then here's the key. The key is that the soul, after that high, the soul returns. And the soul says, 1 second. 1 second. The soul says, yes, this is what I want to do. But God has another mission in mind for me. God does not want me to lose myself. God does not want me to unravel and eliminate myself. God wants me here to make a difference. God wants me here and now to transform this space, to bring God into the world. So yeah, part of me just doesn't want to be. Part of me wants to undo myself. But that's almost spiritually selfish. As egoless as that sounds, paradoxically, that's still fulfilling some sort of soul desire to undo itself. The highest form of bittul, of abnegation, of surrender, is to remain where one is, to remain a distinct entity, and to bring God into that space. Does that make sense? It's kind of paradoxical. You would think the greatest demonstration, the greatest form of surrender is total letting go of self. But that's not true, because what does God want? The greatest form of surrender is focusing on what God wants, not what I want. Even if that want is to undo myself, that's what I want, but what does God want? That's what shov is. That's what the return is. So the running is the escape, or the desire to escape, and the return is getting back to mission and purpose. Does that make sense, what I just said?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
but to me, it sounds like if you don't, you're negating what God created.
Exactly. God took the source, right? Excellent. God took the source and emanated you, right? And you're going to go and undo it, right? Because you think that that's the highest expression. Hey, Drew, good to see you, right? That's not the highest expression, right? The highest expression is to express self, not express self, but to be here and to bring God here. So here's how I want to kind of define the two. There are two forms of love. The first form of love is about getting close with God. The second form of love is about eliminating oneself altogether, right? The second love is higher, but the first love is ultimately more aligned with God's purpose. Does that make sense? In other words, silver or gold, silver love or gold love is higher, but gold love is more dangerous, and gold love is not necessarily aligned with what God really wants from us. It's a higher, loftier, more sublime aspiration, but ultimately doesn't speak to what we're here for. Turns out it's either silver or Bitcoin, but not gold. Silver, right? It's about the silver type of love, not the gold type of love. All right, let's jump inside. Hey, friend, it's great to see you.
Just for one quick thing, which occurred to me. I'm reminded, I think we studied in a chapter, maybe in the 30s, in Tanya, which talked about how man is as low as a dunghill. I think it talked about, but that man can do things the angels cannot, because we can bring light to dark spaces.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Is that? I think maybe. Yeah.
This is all related, right? It's all related. So, but in talking about forms of love, what's interesting is that he says that there's value in loving on that lofty level to let go of self, because then the integration is that much more heightened. Because then I'm doing this not for myself. I'm doing this really because of my ultimate desire to be one with the source. So I want to be one with the source. And then I realize, but what does the source want? It wants me to be here and bring God here. So then I go back to what I'm doing, go back to my life, so to speak, with renewed vigor and energy. Had I not had that running experience, then I wouldn't have the return. I would just be, but it wouldn't have the same type of energy as it has after the run, if that makes sense. Okay. In other words, maybe in other language, Yom Kippur, for example, Yom Kippur is a very unusual day. We don't eat, we don't drink, we don't wear leather shoes, etc. We don't take care of ourselves, grooming, etc. It's a very weird day, right? But it's the holiest day.
Are we fasting?
We're not fasting right now.
I know.
Right. But Yom Kippur, we do fast. and it's a very holy day. Yet it's not normal, right? It's not the normal day that we're meant to. We're not meant to live every day like Yom Kippur. We're just not, because we're supposed to eat and elevate the food and drink and elevate the beverage and live a real life and elevate it to God. So then why Yom Kippur? If Yom Kippur is not what we're supposed to be doing, so why do you need it? The answer is because you need those moments of running, so that when you return, it's with a heightened sense of purpose and a heightened sense of spirituality. If we just stayed forever in the same place, not forever, but if we only stayed in the same place, eventually we would decline. So we need those moments of the high, so that when we come back, it's with a vigor, it's with an energy. Yom Kippur gives a jolt, a shot in the arm, so that when we do our thing, it's with a heightened sense of purpose. Okay, I'm going to share my screen, and let's jump into the text because it's so beautiful. One second. Oh, here it is. Chapter 50, Lekute Amarim, Tanya. Here we go. Give me a moment.
I was about to say go.
Okay, 1 second. Where are we?
Are we up to 1?
1 second. No, we're up to chapter 50, but in the middle somewhere. I want to read. I want to get a running start over here. Okay, let's do this. Here, we're going to start from such. Okay, such is the nature of this intense love. Here we go. Such is the nature of this intense love. This is the higher form of love, like a flame that flashes out of the bazak, as mentioned in the Talmud in Chagiga chapter 2. So this love is a love that is like running. It's like this yearning. If you notice the paragraph before, it's ratzo, which is running, and then there's shov, which is returning. But this love is the running. It's running headfirst toward the source, leaving everything behind. I don't want to be. I just want to merge back with source. I don't want to be. That's this love. And he says, after that little commentary break, it is impossible to explain the subject clearly in writing. It's very difficult to explain this type of love. Yet every person with a feeling heart, who is understanding and intelligent in grasping a subject and delves deeply to attach his mind and understanding to God, will find the goodness and light concealed within his intelligent soul, each according to his capacity. In other words, we will understand, everyone in their own way, this type of experience. And one is, if he says in parentheses, one is affected in one way, one is affected in another way. Everyone is affected by different types of meditations, but the point is, this is the core idea. After prefacing this meditation by fear of sin, the fear of doing wrong by sinning, in order to become utterly removed from evil, withholding oneself from doing any wrong, to avoid your transgressions interposing between you and God, God forbid. So one is able to understand and appreciate this type of desire to merge with God, or this ultimate merging with God, to lose oneself, of course, after one is in a good place and not holding on to negativity, right? So that's what will help a person reach this higher level of gold love, this fire love. Now, hold on, Eva, 1 second. Now, give me one moment. Here, jump down for a second, because I need to be able to look at something in the book. So,
And I'm gonna go
Okay.
to the bathroom.
okay, now take a look. Perfect. Take a look at what we're saying here. The order of one's divine service. Okay, here we go. So we talked about the love. The higher form of love is escape. It's not really escape, it's really undoing, unraveling. However, he says, the Seder Havoda, the order of one's divine service through occupation with Torah study and mitzvot, a service deriving from this intense love, is possible only in a manner of retreat. In other words, if you want to channel this divine love into practical action of Torah study and mitzvot, it's only when you come back to self. i.e., take a look at the i.e. When the soul withholds itself from expiring in order to fulfill the divine intent, which can only be realized when the soul remains within the body. If you want to channel this love into studying Torah and doing mitzvot, it's only when there is the subsequent return or retreat from that intense yearning to dissolve. So the ratzo, I'm using the Hebrew terms. Ratzo is the yearning to dissolve. It's the escape. It's the running. But that's not studying Torah and doing mitzvot. That's losing self, right? It's returning. It's the shov. It's that process of returning where it's possible then to channel the energy into actual Torah study and actual mitzvah performance, which is, of course, the primary objective here. As it is written in Sefer Yetzirah, which is one of the earliest books of Kabbalah, it says, if your heart hastens, return to one. I need to explain what that is because it's a bit of an awkward translation. It says, if your heart hastens, what does hasten mean? In the Hebrew, the word is ratz. Ratz means runs. If your heart is running, if your heart is racing, it doesn't just mean if your heart is beating fast. It means if your soul, if your heart desires to run away and to leave self, to leave identity, to totally merge back to the source, if that's what your desire is, no good. I mean, that is good, but don't forget, return to one. Shuv le'echad, come back to your purpose. He explains, if your heart hastens, what does that mean? That refers to the craving of the soul that is in the right side of the heart, the abode of the divine soul. When this craving, it's a desire of the soul, their godly soul, when this craving predominates and bursts into flame, again, using that fire analogy, and glows in such rapture that the soul is consumed with a desire called kolot hanefesh, to do what? To pour itself out into the embrace of its Father, its source who gives it life. That's great imagery, right? There's a desire, a yearning, a bursting of the heart into flame. It's glowing with rapture. It's consumed with desire. And what is the desire? What's it driven to do? To pour itself out into the embrace of its Father. You know what that means? It means to lose itself, to completely let go of self and just to pour, to melt, to meld, to dissolve, pour, to dissolve into the source who gives it life, and to leave its confinement in the corporeal and physical body, and rather to attach itself to him, blessed be he. This is the desire of the soul. This can be the desire of the soul. This is what is referred to as Ve'im ratz libcha. If your heart hastens, if your heart is pounding with this desire to not be anymore, to not be separate, to just go back to source, to pour itself out into the embrace of its Father, if that's what you want, if that's what we want, okay? But shuv le'echad, return to one. Shuv le'echad means you have to find the return. You can't escape. Life is not about the escape. Because if you really want to escape, then one must take to heart the teaching of our sages. Despite yourself, you must live. Even when you don't want to, you have to choose to live as a self-identifying being distinct from the Creator, doing work here on planet Earth. Despite yourself, you must live, even when you don't want to. Despite your craving for expiry in kolot hanefesh. In other words, even though you rather be part of the source and not be separate, you must nevertheless remain alive in this body, back inside, in this body, to keep it alive. Why? I want to be part of God. I want to be back in the source. I don't want to be separate. I don't want to be, removed from, I don't want to be the ray of the sun. I want to be the sun. Why? He says, for the purpose of drawing down the higher life force from the life of life, blessed be he, through the life-giving Torah, because we have a mission, and the mission is not achieved when we leave. The mission is achieved by doing the mission. And what is the mission? Drawing down the higher life force from the life of life, blessed be he. In other words, drawing down light and life and energy from God into this world. How? Through the life-giving Torah, through Torah and mitzvot. Our job is very simple. It's very clear, especially when you study Kabbalah and Chassidus and Tanya. We have a very straightforward mission. Our mission is to be the ones to bring heaven down to earth and to lift earth a little bit closer to heaven. I'm using modern terminologies, right? Or in modern romantic terminologies, to make heaven and earth kiss, right? To bridge the gap between heaven and earth. In other words, in the language of what you said, to draw down the life from the source of life, the life of all lives, blessed be he, into this world through the life-giving energy of Torah. Basically, to bridge heaven and earth, God and creation. That's why we're here. But what does the soul want? The soul says, I'd rather check out. I'd rather be back in the source. I don't want to be separate from the source. I have an intense love for God. I want to be so close to God, I don't even want to be anymore. I don't want to feel myself anymore. I don't want to know myself anymore. That's how close I want to be with God. And you know what the follow-up is? That's admirable. That's beautiful. That's gold love. That's fiery love. That's self-destructive. That's self-eliminating love. It's so lofty. But Bubala, we need you here. We need you here. You have a job. So, yeah, that's what you want. That's what your soul craves. It craves that closeness. But we still need you here. You got a purpose to do, right? You have something to do, right? Riva, you ready to do a nope? Give me a nope. No, does he have to say it? Nope.
Nope.
There you go. Right?
Nope.
The soul says, I want to be part of God.
Nope.
And we say nope. Right? I'm sorry. That's not why you're here.
Nope.
After 120, that will happen. You'll merge back with the spiritual source. But right now, we need you as a separate soul and a separate body. Why? Not to be separate from God, but to do what God wants and to bring God into this world. I'll give you an example. You're with a loved one. You're hanging out. It's a Sunday morning, after Kabbalah and coffee, you're hanging out. And your loved one says, can you do me a favor? This wouldn't be an example that we would use today because, things are different. We just go online for news. But imagine back in the day, your loved one says, can you go to the store and pick up the Sunday paper? The Sunday paper is the good one, right? It's got the comics. It's got the whole, right? All the guys for the week. The Sunday paper is a good paper. Yeah, can you go get the paper? And you say, I don't want to get the paper. I want to stay here with you. And they say, but I'd like you to get the paper. It's like, no, I want to stay here with you. You see what's going on? So what you're saying is, I love you so much, I want to be here with you. And what they're saying is, if you really love me, please go, right? In other words, I'm sending you on a mission. Go get the paper. You're like, no, I don't want to leave your side. And they're like, no, please leave my side. Get the paper, then you'll come back. But I'm sending you on a mission. God tells the soul, God separates, God manifests out from God's source. God manifests out a soul. And God says, soul, you are being manifest to go into a body and do very important work. And one day the soul wakes up and says, you know what? I want to go back to the source. And God says, but I gave you a job and it's not over yet. So it's nice that you want to go. It's admirable. It's beautiful, right? That you want to go and connect with source, that you want to abandon self and any separation, and you just want to be one with God. That's great, but you still have a mission. That's what we call ratzo and shuv. Ratzo is, I want to escape, and shuv is, but I got a mission. I got to be right here. We shouldn't discount the ratzo. We need the ratzo, because otherwise we'll be just stuck in the here and now, and we won't even realize why we're here. And we'll start forgetting about our mission to draw down the life into this world, right? We'll forget why we're here, and we'll think, oh, we're just here to hang out and work all day and do our thing. So we have to have those moments of ratzo to remind us of why we're here in the first place. But if we just have the ratzo without the shuv, it's a dangerous experience as well. Let me share my screen. Let's pick it up inside. We have some really beautiful stuff to talk about. And through this process of the escape or the desire to escape, but also the understanding that we need to be here, through this, there will be a dwelling place in the lower worlds and created beings for his blessed oneness in a revealed state. In other words, through the process of staying put and bringing God into this world, we transform this world, this lower world, into a dwelling place, into a home for God in a revealed way. As explained above, right? As explained above, that this is the ultimate divine intent, that a human being service of God should make of the world the dwelling place for him. That was chapter 36, one of the epic chapters of Tanya, which explains the purpose of all creation is to make a home for God here on earth. And this is the meaning of return to one. Retreat from your love of God in a state of klot nefesh for the sake of the one, for the sake of revealing God's oneness in the world. So you want to escape, and God says, no. I need you right there where you are. Return to one, return to your mission of bringing one into the world, of making the world one with God. That's your mission. Don't dissolve, not yet. At a certain point, you're going to come back, but not yet. You have a mission. So I want you to go back. All right. You're getting close. You're feeling like you want to get close. Time to go back. It reminds me of the way maybe you were at the event or at the events when Mrs. Nomi Freeman spoke about near-death experiences. Remember that? How people are sometimes, they're drawn toward the light, but then the message is, if you come back, the message is, no, it's not your time. Go back, right? Go back. It's not time yet. So this is really kind of like the idea of klotan, of what we're talking about, the ratzu and the shuv. The ratzu is this getting close, like about to merge, and then the subsequent energy is, I gotta come back. I still have things to do. I still have a mission to perform right here on earth as a distinct being. All right, let's continue inside.
I want to go to like a shop. I'm too hungry. You say, do I want to go? And I say, and you keep asking me.
Mm-hmm. Nice. All right, let's continue. And as explained in the Holy Zohar, that there be one in one. In other words, the purpose of life is that there should be one God in one in this world, meaning that the unity which is hidden, the one of a higher spiritual world or level, shall become an aspect of the revealed world, becoming manifest in the oneness of a lower world or level. In other words, just giving a parallel idea. The Zohar says that the purpose of life is lemevi echa ba'echa, to make one in one, to bring God's oneness into our space, into this one space. And this is the meaning. Oh, take a look at this. You're going to love this. Lecha dodi lekrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. We know this song. What does lecha dodi mean? Right? We say this every Friday night. Tomorrow night we're going to be singing this. Right? Whether we're in shul or at home, whatever it is. Right? Lecha dodi. This is the meaning of the text. Lecha dodi. Come, my beloved. So lecha means come, or let us go. Lecha dodi, come, my beloved. Likrat kala, to meet the bride. Likrat kala.
How'd you know?
Kala is bride. Because I've said it a few times. Kala is bride. But you know what kala also means? Kilot hanefesh. 1 second. Kilot hanefesh. That's the expiration of the soul's desire to undo itself. This is a radical, mystical explanation of the Lecha Dodi. It's a new understanding of what we say Friday nights. Come, my beloved, to meet the bride means come, let's merge back to the source. Let's experience the merging and the unraveling of self. Let's have Kilot Hanefesh. He says in the parentheses, Kala, bride, and Kilot, which means expiry of the soul, they are etymologically related. In this form of the love of God, one's kilot hanefesh should be expressed through causing my beloved to come, i.e. through drawing down the beloved one, God himself, so that godliness will be revealed in this nether world. Basically, Lecha dodi likrat kala means, come, my beloved, to meet the bride. What that means is that although I have the desire to merge, kilot hanefesh, to lose my identity and become one with source once again, lecha dodi, we come back to this space. Come, my beloved, we come back into this space to channel that energy into action in this world. So in that opening line, or that refrain, we sing it every stanza. What we're actually saying is that we're trying to couple, we're trying to merge both the desire to escape with the need to be and to do and to transform. Yes, part of the soul is likrat kala, wants to go up, but lecha dodi, we got to bring it back down into this space. Come, my beloved means bridge the kala, bridge the klot hanefesh, the expiry of the soul, with my beloved, with the closeness of the experience of merging God with the world. With this, he says, we're getting close to the end of the chapter. He says, with this one, or with this understanding, we will be able to understand the saying of our sage of blessed memory. It says like this in Pirkei Avot. It says, despite yourself, against your will, you must live, and despite yourself, you must die. So that sounds like a contradiction. It says, against your will, you live, and against your will, you die. Well, which one is it? Do you want to live? Do you want to die? The answer is both, right? Against your will, you live means part of us doesn't want to live. Part of us wants to escape. But against your will, you must die means part of us does want to live. Part of us wants to escape, but part of us knows that escaping is not the answer because we have a mission. So we have to, so the whole point of this chapter is there's a higher love. There's a higher love, a more intense love, and this love is the soul wanting to undo its own existence. The soul no longer wants to be a separate entity. The soul just wants to go back fully and wholly and completely dissolving into source. That's called gold love. It's called fire love. It's called Levite love. That's what it is. But that's not completely healthy, or that's not, at least, maybe that's a judgment, that's not completely the full picture. Because together with that desire, it's only healthy, it's only kosher when it's coupled with a realization, a recognition that I am still needed here. I still have a purpose. I still have a mission. And if I truly do undo myself, if I truly dissolve, then I can no longer bring heaven to earth because I'm no longer on earth. So together with the desire, the ratzo, the running, I also have the returning. And that's why it says, against our will, we live because part of us wants to escape. But against our will, we die because part of us wants to keep on fulfilling our purpose. So he says, he asked the rhetorical question. So what then should one's desire be? Should we want to escape or should we want to stay? You know the answer. Both, right? This is explained elsewhere at length with reference to this Mishnah. Despite yourself, you must live with the help of the life of life. Blessed be he who enables one to cope with this compulsion to live despite yourself. In other words, God will help us reconcile these two desires, the desire to escape, the desire to live. So I'll tell you this as we conclude chapter 50 and kind of wrap things up and maybe bring things into very clear focus. I would venture to say that most of us living in 2021 are not struggling with this danger of kolot hanefesh. I'm going to venture to say that most of us are not at the verge of, oh my God, my soul is so enraptured with God. It's so burning, bursting at the seams with love that, oh my gosh, if I don't act quickly, my soul is going to dissolve in the source. Oi! That's probably not our greatest challenge. Our greatest challenge is remembering that there's a source, that there's a mission in the first place, right? But the Alter Rebbe is talking about advanced levels of love. And it's important to know. And it's important to also know that we might reach this at a certain point. Yeah, it could happen. And even if it doesn't happen in this exact way, there are other forms in which something similar happens with us, which I'll talk about in a moment. The point is that yes, maybe it's not a normative experience that we study and meditate, and before you know it, our soul is almost in danger. Beep, 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 all the warning lines, the flashes, the light and the sounds, the warning bells go off. It's like danger, danger, danger. Soul is about to expire. Soul may not happen on a regular basis. Nonetheless, the Alter Rebbe is discussing a higher form of love. Not just, I love God, I want to bring God into my life. No. This is, I don't want life anymore. I don't want this life anymore. I just want to dissolve into source. And he says, but that itself is not healthy. That itself can't be the full picture. That's the rutzo. That's the running. But if you're running, you also have to be able to come back. You have to be able to come back. Because if not, then you're escaping reality. And that's not what needs to happen. Because as beautiful as that might be for the soul, that's not what God wants from us right now. What God wants from us right now, as long as we're here, is to be here and to bring God into this world. So we're forced to live. And at the same time, we're forced to leave. Because part of us wants to go. Part of us knows we need to stay. We have these dueling tendencies. I mentioned before, just a moment ago, that most of us probably don't struggle with the soul getting so excited about God that it's about to leave the body. But, we do parallel this a little bit. I mentioned before Yom Kippur. Let me bring that example up again. Oftentimes we feel inspired, whether it's Yom Kippur or a special occasion or a simcha or a life milestone moment. And we might get very inspired. But the inspiration might be ethereal. It might be theoretical inspiration that's not grounded in anything tangible. And so what our chapter is telling us today essentially is never let inspiration go to waste. Never let a good inspirational moment just dissipate and leave. Make sure that it's grounded. Make sure there's always a shuv. Make sure there's always an implementation. You got excited. Oh, you're overjoyed. Mazel tov. It's a simcha. You're so excited. You're so happy. Let me ask a question. Stop. Slow down. What's going to happen tomorrow? How is tomorrow going to be any different based on today? Right? Yom Kippur, we all feel holy. Okay, great. But how is tomorrow going to be different based on what happened today? And if we can't articulate that, you know what it means? It means that on some level, we had an inspirational moment that detached and dissolved from the material, from the practical, from the tangible. And that's similar. It's not exactly what we're talking about, but it's similar to the condition of what we're talking about tonight, which is just the ratzo without the shuv. It's the escape without the return. And that's not the tachlis. That's not the purpose of why we're here. We're not here to escape. So if we're inspired, let's make sure we're grounding it. One way to do that is always to think about resolutions, right? Good resolutions. I'm inspired. Okay, what am I going to do about it tomorrow morning when I wake up, or tomorrow in the middle of the day? How is my day going to be different? Practically, not just like, oh, tomorrow I'll be a nicer person. No. That's still floating. That's still ethereal. That's still running away. Make it tangible. What am I actually going to do? Who am I going to call? What mitzvah am I going to do? What Torah am I going to study? When, with whom, and how? Make it tangible. That's what shuv is. That's what the return is. So whether we're talking about chapter 50's direct dynamic, which is a soul that is so on fire that it's about to leave, and it has to be reminded to stay, or whether it's you and I that are maybe not there yet consistently, but we have our own moments of loftiness that might remain lofty and ungrounded. We also need to take the same message to heart. Never let inspiration dissipate. Never let that dissolve, poof, into the atmosphere, right? Into the supernal realms. How can we ground it? How can we transition it into something tangible that speaks to our purpose, which is to bring heaven down to earth in a real, tangible way? This is chapter 50. That's our application. I don't want to lose focus of what the core of chapter 50 is in its original form. Chapter 50 is about understanding a higher level of love, which comes with a major disclaimer, right? This love has warning signs all over it. Caution, warning, yellow labels, red labels, the whole deal. It's got warning labels all over it. And the warning labels say, be careful with this love. It's the highest level of love. It's the gold standard of love. It's incredible. It's transcendent. Be careful, because it could lead to a disconnection from purpose. So therefore, we have to always couple it with this shuv. That's what Ezekiel was referencing, according to Kabbalah, when he talked about the Chariot angels who were running and returning. The Chariot angels, to kind of bring things full circle, the Chariot angels are angels that sense God and are so enthralled and enraptured by sensing God that all they want to do is dissolve. But then they come back. They run toward the light, and then they come back, because they realize that they too have a purpose to be the angels that they are, and not to run away from that mission. So it's the highest light, it's the highest love, it's the highest form of selflessness, of undoing self. But we have to be careful, because that's not what it's about. So then what's the value of it if that's not what it's about? Because that inspiration, as I mentioned before, that inspiration drives the implementation. It drives the purpose of bringing heaven down to earth. If we never ran, we wouldn't even be standing in one place either. If we never ran forward, we would be backsliding. So we have to run, and then when we come back, it's with intensity. May this week, when I say this week, I mean, we're approaching Shabbat in 24 hours, but may this week from now until next Thursday, please God, when we meet again for Tanya, may this week be one in which we have some moments of unbridled inspiration. And then in those moments, think about how we can tangibly implement them into the world that we live in to make a difference in the here and now. Thank you for joining me tonight for Tanya, chapter 50. Next week, chapter 51, same bat time, same bat channel. Questions, comments, jump in.
Ari, I've got a note I'd like to share.
Yes.
Footnote in my Tanya has some footnotes, whatever in it. And I think it makes something a little clearer. And I think it means where it says, the interpretation of the phrase in the Tanya is, if your heart hastens, is the craving of the soul that is in the right side of the heart.
Right.
When it sway. And my note here says, when it gains sway, that means over the left part. In other words, over the natural desires of the animal soul. So in other words, and then if you continue and burst into flame and grow so exceedingly enraptured. Anyway, so it burst into flame after the godly soul gains sway over the animal soul, it burst into flame. And so I guess among the things this says to me is what is for those fleeting moments when our godly soul gains sway over our animal soul.
Right.
It's almost like you want to run away from the conflict.
Yes.
And the soul wants to burst into flame and unite with God and basically end the struggle.
Amazing. Yes, I love that. I love that imagery, because imagine it's it's very helpful, right? So imagine that you're locked in battle, and finally you have a moment where you're able to escape, and you find some oxygen, and all you want to do then is keep on running and never look back. And then we're told that God says, essentially, the Torah tells us, Tanya tells us, go back. But go back into the arena with the other guy, with all the struggles and all the battles. Yeah. It's like, again, Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, we don't have to worry about anything, right? You don't have to worry about cooking. It's great. How much time is saved, right? What am I going to buy for lunch? Don't worry about it. You're good, right? Even the breakfast is bagels. It's already done. I'm kidding, right? So we're not worrying about these things, right? And we might seem like, well, let's stay here forever. It's like, no, jump right back in. But I love that, right? It's when the godly soul gets a break, catches a break, and keeps on running, right? It's like those football players when they get a touchdown, they keep on running through the tunnel, right? It's like you ran through the end zone and you keep on running. You tasted it. Hey, Nate. Hey, buddy. Look at that guy. You're getting big. All right. Guys, say hi to each other. Anyway, exactly. It's tasting that oxygen and keeping on going. How old is Nate now? Still 2 or 3? Wow. Wait, unmute.
2.5.
Got it. Nate Kanai Wow, look at you. Say hi, Reeves. These are our youngest Tanya is. Youngest students of Tanya. Getting a jump start on this. Alex, did you have something?
Yeah, I did. You didn't. I don't think you spoke about the spark, because when you read the passage from Ezekiel, it said, I believe on my memory, it was like a spark. And could you elaborate on how is it like a spark?
So let me pull it up. 1 second, Reeves. Let me pull up just for myself. Let me go back to that reference. And and the living beings, the Chariot, living beings, it means the angels, the Chariot angels, would run and return like the appearance of the sparks. So let me pull up. Let's see if there's a Rashi on this. So the Rashi is going to be a basic idea. It's not going to give us the Kabbalah of it. He uses French. De l'etincelle. De l'etincelle in French.
What does that mean?
Which and the color of the fire is like the color of the fire that emanates from between the shards, with which gold is refined in the furnace. The way I understand it, I don't know if we're going to get a simple explanation here. The way I understand it is that what is a spark? A spark is something that shoots off, right? It shoots off and it's escaping from the fire, so to speak, right? It's jumping out. So that's where it's running, but ultimately it goes back. It needs to go back. So that's what I get. At least that's the imagery that I get based on what we discussed.
Because when I see a spark feels like it goes off and then it disintegrates.
Right. So 1 second. Let me pull it up again for my purposes here, for my reference. I mean, yeah.
I mean, it feels to me like a spark is a one-way.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. A spark would seem to be that one way, which is heading out.
Yes.
Could we say that it's the opposite? That it's in the fire and then it goes out? No, I mean, I think it's kind of that one way. It's kind of that one way. And maybe it's portraying the running part, but not the return. The Chai would run and return like the appearance of sparks. Maybe that only refers to the running part, right? Like the jumping out like the sparks.
Very confusing, Rabbi.
Yeah. I'm sure there's more to it. I didn't think of, bringing it back to the spark, but at least at first glance, that's the imagery that I think, but maybe it's the opposite. Maybe jumping out. No, sorry. Maybe being in the fire is the running and jumping back out is separating back out from the source. I don't know. I could look at it that way also, but I don't know. I don't want to.
If you have a better understanding, can we share it with us next week?
I'll try to see if I can find something in Kabbalah on that. And if I do find something, I will definitely share it. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good question. Hold on. I just saw something else in the chat. Let's see. Oh yeah, sparks. Right. Yes, we have spoken in other contexts, Mark is mentioning, about sparks as unfulfilled mitzvot. So how might that connect? If a spark is about unfulfilled potential, like a potential energy that we need to kind of capture. So what would the spark be? No, not yet. What would the spark be? The spark would be, spark emanates from the source as potential. And then we need to capitalize on it. I don't know. I'm not sure how to connect those two ideas, but all right. Another layer of this conversation, certainly.
Is your class kind of over?
It's basically almost over. Yes. We're getting there. Okay. Super cool. It's great to see everybody. Adina Malka, Steve, Alex, Mark, Nate, Fran, Drar, Lisa, Sandrine, David. It is great to see you all. How's Vegas doing, guys? All good? Awesome. Did you guys get hit with crazy weather or not really?
We had a crazy wind and a short blackout, but no snow.
Okay. Got it. As long as everyone is good and healthy. I have relatives, as you guys know, I have brother-in-law and sister-in-law that are the Chabad Rabbi and Rebbitzin in Frisco, Texas, right outside of Dallas. They've been hit hard. I mean, it's crazy over there. It's so bizarre, Texas. So anyway, we wish everybody to be safe and to be healthy and to be warm and to have electricity, whatever everyone needs. And I mean, we take these things for granted when it works. That's really what it is. If we take it for granted, we have to be grateful for what we have. So I'm grateful for having all of you and the opportunity to learn Torah together, to study Tanya. I want to wish everybody a good evening and a good Shabbos. And may the Shabbos be truly inspirational. It's the Shabbos before Purim. So if Purim is about joy and transformation and things that seem impossible becoming possible, may the energy come from the Shabbos. May we all experience something of the impossible in our own lives to make it real. All right. We'll see you all. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good night. Erev Tov. Laila Tov.
Eshkoach.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
See you guys.